insurers seeing car insurance hikes on the road to profits. They're talking that the insurance industry here is going to have to hike car insurance premiums because the profits of the insurance companies seem to be falling or not reaching the targets that they would expect. And that relates to the question that I put today for the Minister for Finance, because I'm asking for a statement in relation to the practices of the insurance industry, which certainly seem to penalise certain categories of drivers, particularly young drivers and those driving cars over 10 years of age, and to outline what steps the government is taking to counteract this. This is an issue that's actually coming up an awful lot in my area, Minister. I'm being told that young drivers are being asked to pay anywhere between €2,000 and €9,000 for annual premiums for motor insurance. That's obviously not affordable for them, and as a result they can't get on the road and they can't take jobs, courses, etc. I'm told that some insurers have even stopped quoting for drivers in their 20s. That's according to the Irish Brokers Association, and that the insurance costs have been shooting up for months, but that the younger drivers are the biggest losers, with average increases of between 20 and 30% in 2015. There's another issue as well relating to cars over 10 years of age, between 10 and 15, which are passing their NCT. We all welcomed the introduction of the NCT to make sure that all the motor vehicles on the road would be safe, but we're finding now that insurance companies won't quote people who have older cars. This is hugely inconsiderate for people living in rural areas, people who've taken care of their cars, and it just seems quite crazy that if a car can pass an NCT and the government through the NCT system are saying their car is fit to be on the road, that an insurance company can turn around then and say, well, we're not going to insure you, and therefore deeming that car undrivable, or if somebody wants to sell on that car, that they won't be able to sell it at all because they'll get no price for it. So there are questions there as to why a car that passes an NCT is not being insured either. So this obviously has an impact on rural dwellers. It also has an impact on students and people on lower incomes, because a lot of the people who would have these older cars, or the cheaper cars, as we would say, would be those people on lower incomes. There's other issues that are being raised with me as well as regards how is the penalty points regime impacting on the price of insurance premiums? Because I've heard this morning of a father whose son came home for Christmas who had 3 penalty points on his licence because he was 10, I think it was 5 or 10 kilometres per hour above a speed limit in a certain area, paid his penalty, was happy to do that. But when the father wanted to insure him for 10 days over Christmas, he was asked for €150 in an increased premium. That seems to me like blatant profiteering on behalf of an insurance company. And I've heard of another case where one person had 1 point on their penalty, of 1 penalty point on their licence, which resulted in a €150 increase in their premium. So it's not just myself, Minister, a lot of consumers out there are also concerned, and I know that the Consumers Association of Ireland have also called on the government to conduct an independent review of the insurance industry amid growing concerns that motor insurers are penalising pensioners and younger drivers who tend to drive older cars in particular. So some people have said that this is blatant profiteering by the insurance industry. Some have said that people are being fleeced, younger drivers in particular are being fleeced by the insurance companies, and we're being told by the likes of Standard & Poor's this morning that it's a profit-driven initiative. But we see that companies like Aviva, who are some of the companies who are imposing these increased fees, are making profits. Their profits are up 13% last year. So the question here is, Minister, what are the government doing to tackle the insurance industry? Are they just being allowed to do whatever they want, to charge whatever prices they want? Why is the government not bringing in some form of regulation to make sure that a fair system is in place for young people, people who own older cars, people living in rural areas? What is actually happening to make sure that there is a fair playing field here, and that the insurance companies can't just turn around and, when they feel that they're not making enough profits, target certain sections and segments of our society and charge them extra extortionate premiums and deem them in many cases unable to work, unable to go to courses, or make them victims of a poor public transport system which can't serve their needs. So, Minister, certainly certainly we've seen over the last number of weeks issues with the insurance industry around flooding and the costs of getting insurance, if people can get insurance in those scenarios. But certainly this as well, the motor insurance area is an area that really needs huge scrutiny. It would appear to me that it's a very unfair playing field, and that the insurance companies in this case are not playing ball either.
Thank you, Senator, for raising this matter here this evening, which is very current and relevant at the moment. The Minister for Finance is responsible for the development of the legal framework governing financial regulation, and is concerned that there should be a stable insurance sector and that risks to policyholders and to the wider financial system are limited. The Minister is aware of reports on the increasing costs of motor insurance. However, the ability of the Government to influence insurance pricing is limited, as insurance companies are required under European law to price in accordance with risk, and neither the Minister for Finance nor the Central Bank of Ireland have the power to direct insurance companies on the pricing or the provision of insurance products. The EU framework for insurance expressly prohibits Member States adopting rules which require the prior approval or systematic notification of certain matters, including general and special policy conditions and scales of premiums. Furthermore, the EU framework provides non-life insurers with the freedom to set premiums. Insurance companies consider a number of risks when determining the premium for the proposed insurance policy, whether that is a general insurance policy such as motor or home insurance, or a life assurance policy. A premium is based on the actuarial calculation of risk. Insurance Ireland has advised the Minister for Finance that motor insurers make their own individual decisions on whether for cover and what terms to apply. They use a combination of rating factors in doing this, such as the age of the driver, the type of car, claims record, driving experience, number of drivers, how the car is used, etc. Insurers do not all use the same combination of rating factors. Prices vary across the market, and consumers are free to choose. Insurance companies price in accordance with its own past claims experience, and, for example, where the age of a car is a factor, different insurance companies would use different age thresholds. It is important to note that as a result of the implementation of the EU Gender Directive in the motor insurance sector, there is a statutory requirement in Ireland for the provision of unisex premiums and benefits in insurance. This means that insurers are prohibited from discriminating on the basis of gender. As stated earlier, the ability of the Government to influence insurance pricing is limited, but that does not preclude the Government from introducing measures that may, in the longer term, lead to a better claims environment that would facilitate a reduction in claims costs. The Department of Finance has embarked on a review of the insurance sector, which has been undertaken in consultation with the Central Bank and other departments and agencies. The objectives of the review is to recommend measures to improve the functioning and regulation of the insurance sector. The review is being conducted on a phased basis, with the first phase reviewing issues in the motor insurance sector. As part of this first phase, the first meeting of officials from the Department of Finance and the Department of Transport, Tourism and Sport took place on the 7th of January. Progress reports will be submitted to the Minister for Finance as the review progresses, with a final report expected within 12 months. Finally, in the event that a person is unable to obtain a quotation for motor insurance, or feels that the premium proposed or the terms are so excessive that it amounts to a refusal to give the motor insurance, they should contact Insurance Ireland, quoting the Decline Cases Agreement. Under this agreement, the Decline Cases Committee of Insurance Ireland deals with cases of difficulty in obtaining motor insurance.
Minister, I don't think the people I mentioned, the types of people who are being penalised by the insurance companies, would take much solace out of the response. Would you not agree with me, Minister, that really the Minister of Finance should haul in these insurance companies and raise these issues with them directly, as has been done in the flooding scenario, albeit belatedly, but instead of waiting for a view that's going to take up to a year, where the company is going to be allowed to go ahead and make exorbitant profits on the backs of people who are finding it hard pressed to pay their other bills. Would you not think that the Minister for Finance would haul these companies in and say, enough is enough, you can't penalise people who have older cars, people on lower incomes and younger people just because your profits need to be bigger than they are at present? Surely the Minister for Finance should haul them in and say that that is not acceptable, that they need to change their practices, or that he would therefore use whatever measures you say, limited that they are, that he has, to haul them to task, that if they're not going to regulate themselves, if they're not going to play ball, that the government will show them that they will make them be fair to all of our citizens who need to drive to work or to courses or to get through their daily lives.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And as I said, the ability of government to influence insurance pricing is limited, as insurance companies are required, as I said already, under European law, to price in accordance with risk, and neither the Minister for Finance nor the Central Bank of Ireland have the power to direct insurance companies on the pricing or the provision of insurance products. So, in that sense, obviously the Minister is restricted in directing insurance companies regarding their policy towards rates of insurance and so on. But certainly I'll convey your concerns to the Minister for Finance, who unfortunately could not be here this morning because he's in the Dáil at question time. So again, I thank you, Senator, for raising this matter, which is, I must say, very current to this particular time.